Good morning, divas and dudes. Very happy to be here today. We are going to talk about eating well to be well, and that's something that we all need to learn. But when you have situations that you're dealing with, it's really nice to know what to eat more of, what to eat less of. So without further ado, let's talk about how to eat well to be well. This is kind of our target statement. The lifestyle decisions that you make today will impact your future health. So it's all about making good, wise lifestyle decisions. We're going to talk about that. And there are simple science-based habits that you can use to help prevent and or manage your health. Just as simple as that. Lifestyle choices that you make impact your health. First thing I want to encourage you to do is know your numbers, because it gives you a really good baseline. It gives you a place to start. I'm sure most of you know your numbers, but I want to walk through what that would look like. So what's your BMI? What's your body mass index? That's the relationship of your height to your weight. And so you want that to be less than 30. The higher it is considered obese. So anything over 30 is considered obese. Now, most of us have a hard time fitting under that 30. So if you're a little over 30, you're going to be okay. But aim for that 30 or under. You can go to the cdc.gov website and look up a BMI calculator, and it will allow you to put in your information and find out what your BMI is. And then waist circumference. You've all seen people who have that big barrel waist. That is usually an indication of heart disease or diabetes. So you really want to keep that waist circumference where it's less than 35 inches for women and less than 40 inches for men. That's the healthiest place to be. And then cholesterol. What's your cholesterol number? HDL is the good cholesterol. So find out what that is. You want it greater than 40. Greater than 40. And then optimal is greater than 60. So LDL, that's the bad cholesterol. You want that less than 100. So just know what those are. Know that those are disease risks if you're higher than that. Blood pressure. Normal is 120 over 80. What's your blood pressure? Sure, every time you go to the doctor, they take it, right? And sometimes it's a little bit white coat syndrome, so it may be a little higher than you think, but check that. And then glucose. You want that 100 or less when you have your glucose tested. Your hemoglobin A1C, you want less than 6. So again, anytime you have labs done, they're checking those numbers. This just gives you a baseline, and it helps you know, hey, the lifestyle choices that I'm now making, are those improving these numbers? It just gives you a snapshot of your health, and abnormal labs can often be corrected with lifestyle changes. So there are 4 major chronic diseases that can affect your overall health, and these again can be managed with diet and exercise. Now you may be wondering why I'm bringing all this up, because cancer is really what we're here to talk about. But what I've learned over my gazillion years of counseling is often people come in for help with a cancer diagnosis or another kind of diagnoses. And these illnesses and situations can really impact the goals that you're trying to achieve. So obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and then cancer. These can often be controlled with lifestyle choices. Not saying everything is controlled with that, but a lot of it is. Just interestingly, in 1990, no state in the U.S. had obesity prevalence over 15%. Today, 37 states have an obesity prevalence over 30, and Texas is 35.8 to be exact. That means we're a very heavy state.
Yes, we are.
So, and obviously it's because of the diet that we have, the lack of activity that we have. So controlling obesity is a huge piece of the health we're trying to achieve. The other one is type 2 diabetes. It is an epidemic. It is a preventable disease, and it's insidious. I mean, a lot of people don't even know they have it, and it is tearing away at your body when you don't know you have it or when you're not making changes to control it. And I love this fact. Losing 5 to 10% of your body weight can make all the difference in controlling your blood sugar. I've had patients who come in and they lose, let's call it 10% of their body weight, and wow, all of a sudden they need way less metformin, or they can get off some of their insulin. It's very powerful how much difference that makes. So keep that in mind. We're not trying to get you to a BMI less than 30. We're just trying to get you to lose 5 to 10% of your body weight. Maybe it's 10 pounds, maybe it's 20 pounds, but it makes a huge difference. And then heart disease. Heart disease is often a result of poor lifestyle choices, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, excessive weight. These are all signs of heart disease. So we want to really control those labs that we talked about so that we can avoid some heart disease. You can, again, manage these with diet and exercise. You're going to hear me say that a lot today. And cancer. This is one that we're all very interested in. In 2023, more than 2 million Americans are expected to be diagnosed with cancer. 2 million, that's a lot. Last year, a stat that I had before was 1 million. So we're finding it earlier, we're finding it more often, and then again, because of that increase in weight that you saw, increase in obesity, it's even more prevalent. And some cancers are genetic. Your family, runs in your family, but a lot of them can be attributed to environmental and lifestyle choices. So that's something we want to keep in mind. Lifestyle, of course, includes smoking. It includes diets that are high in saturated fat, alcohol, sun exposure, environmental pollutants, infections, stress, obesity, physical activity. All of those things are going to contribute and make a difference if we can make some changes in that. There are some really common side effects if you're going through cancer treatment, and you know these. This is not a surprise to anybody, but anorexia, nausea, vomiting, dry mouth, mouth sores, taste changes, trouble swallowing, sore throat, all these things can be side effects of your cancer therapy. And they're horribly awful to try to control. When you've got it, it can seem insurmountable. But I'm going to give you some tips that may help you make some changes and make it better. So eating habits that can help. And I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, so if I am, just take a check on that. But eating more often, eating 5 to 6 meals a day. What happens when you get overfull? Yeah, feel good.
Horrible.
Yes. What happens when you don't eat enough? You feel horrible. Yeah. So the way you control that is eating more often, eating small amounts, and then also making sure you're getting some protein, because protein is what sustains you. Protein and healthy fat. They're digested more slowly, so you want to make sure you include that. The challenge is you don't want to have a big steak, right? But you can find ways to include protein into your diet that will make a big difference. Also, small amounts of liquids when you're eating. You don't want the liquid to fill you up. Don't drink a big glass of water. Just small amounts while you're eating so that it doesn't fill you up. Milkshakes, smoothies, juice, all these things can really help bring in some protein. I'm not even opposed to protein powder if you need to include some of that. There's also foods like Fairlife Milk has a protein shake that's super clean. Fairlife milk in general it's lactose free. It's double filtered so that it just has more protein, less carbohydrate. So if you've not tried Fairlife milk, I love it. Foods that are bland and soft. So things that go down easily. Kind of forget everything you know about healthy eating. Do white toast. Do saltine crackers. Things that are just going to be digested really quickly and can make you feel better. I often go back to thinking about when I was pregnant, and morning sickness. And if you'll just eat a couple of saltines before you get out of bed, it makes a big difference. And I would encourage you the same way. It makes a big difference if you can just get a little bit of something in your stomach. And then foods like even plain yogurt, it has a high protein if you're getting a Greek yogurt. And so making sure that you do some things. Every food you eat, you need to be conscious of, what does this have in it? Is it helping me or is it hurting me? And then sit or lie with your head raised after you eat, because that will really help. You don't want to lay down and let everything go to your head. You want to sit up, let everything begin to digest. And then taste changes. That's such a big one. When I was doing all my nutrition counseling, this was probably the biggest one that I saw. So don't necessarily have red meat. It often has that strange taste to it when you're going through therapy. So eating more poultry or fish or eggs or cheese instead of the red meat. Sometimes none of that's going to sound good. I'll just tell you flat out. Sometimes it just doesn't sound good. But try tart foods and drinks. Cherries are turning out to be a very well-researched food that really can impact your cancer recovery and help prevent cancer in the beginning. So try things like cherry juice and other drinks. Use lemon drops, gum, mints. If you have that metallic or bitter taste, find what works for you. Because there's going to be, some people will be like, lemon drops, I can't stand that. But you may like the cherry juice. And I'm not talking about sweetened cherry juice. I'm talking about tart cherry juice. And then utensils. Many times a silver utensil tastes metallic. It gives you that metallic taste. So maybe try using plastic silverware. It could help. And then fighting cancer with food. I think we're all really interested in that. If you're interested in what things you could eat to help fight it, have you given it some thought? Raise your hand. Good. I think that's a question most people have. And so peer-reviewed research is what you want to look for. My goodness, you can find so much information online, right? Facebook or anything online may tell you, oh, this helps or this cures it or whatever. You want to make sure you're looking for peer-reviewed research that's been analyzed by professionals. So there's some certain things. Anti-inflammatory diet is a big one. And think Mediterranean diet, if you're wondering what is anti-inflammatory. And most of you have my book, and it's a lot of research on how that can make such a big difference. It also just gives you a practical way to approach it because it can seem insurmountable. The thing I love about it too is if you make even just a couple of changes, it impacts it. The more diligent you are about it, the more it can impact. But just think, if I make a couple of changes, it's going to make a big difference. So key foods within that anti-inflammatory diet have been found to be instrumental. Polyphenols, and that begins to sound like a very sciencey word, but in your book, list all the polyphenols, and so don't make it hard. Make it simple, just look at that list. But foods include green tea, and when I was counseling, green tea is something that a lot of people are trying, and it shows to be very helpful. Grapes, especially the red ones, because the resveratrol in grapes can be very helpful. Berries, citrus fruits, apples, whole grains, and peanuts. And I would even add to that really any kind of nut. one of the things that you may find, if you can tolerate nuts and you're hungry, just 5 or 6 cashews or almonds or a spoonful of peanut butter, those kinds of things are gonna be very helpful in kind of staving off that hunger and helping you feel better. More AI foods to fight cancer. I talked about cherries, so that's an important one. Citrus fruit peel. And that sounds weird, like why would you eat citrus fruit peel? Well, you can shave it off into a drink. You can, finely grate it and add it in different things that you're gonna eat. The reason those things are so important, because the sunlight that hits whatever fruit you're eating, it's gonna really impact that polyphenol level. So even cherry tomatoes have more polyphenol in them than large tomatoes because there's more of a skin surface that hits those tomatoes. So it's kind of interesting. There's a page on that. Yes.
But may I suggest talking to your oncologist, because citrus doesn't make my chemo as effective, so.
And really this is talking about citrus peel, so the white pithy part is the part in the orange skin. So maybe the citrus fruit actually would not be as good for you. And I think it depends therapy to therapy, but yes, good point.
Yes.
Somebody else had.
Especially grapefruit. So.
Yes. Now grapefruit can help, can mess with blood thinners and all of that. So grapefruit's kind of one of those no foods. Yeah. Somebody else had a question? Okay, thought I saw a hand. Cruciferous vegetables. We've all heard that, right? Cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. These are all very effective in helping to manage and control cancer. And then you're going to find this one interesting. Tofu, soy milk, edamame. How many times have we been told to avoid soy foods? Anybody been told that? Many. So what happens with that is the latest research on that shows that the estrogen we eat doesn't turn into estrogen in our bodies. So if you feel comfortable trying that, fine. If not, continue to avoid it. And then things like wheat bran, really any brand. So oat bran, wheat bran, those are very effective at helping your body fight this cancer. And then nuts. So we talked about nuts. Can y'all tolerate nuts? Does anybody have trouble with that? Good. So that can be a really good thing. And again, discussed in more detail in the book. Lifestyle changes to consider. So eating for optimal energy. Now that's what we've been talking about. But keep your energy level up with food. Again, 5 to 6 meals a day, small amounts, but eating on a regular basis. If you can't tolerate just a small bit of milkshake or juice that you've added a protein powder to, something to get some food and primarily protein into your diet. And then we're going to talk about committing to fitness, managing your stress, unleashing your passion, and aging gracefully and finishing strong. So all those things we're going to hit today. Again, eating for energy. Just I can't force that enough. And then think about balance. So it's all about balancing your nutrients and balancing your calories. So balancing your nutrients. What you want to do is make sure you're getting some carbohydrate, you're getting some protein, you're getting some healthy fat in everything that you eat. So balancing out your nutrients. And then balancing your calories. How many of you know people that eat 1 meal a day? Maybe 2 meals a day. So they're not sustaining their energy with food. So what you really want to do, again, small, tiny amounts, more frequently, that's balancing out your calories throughout the day. So this is like my favorite list. If you're going to take pictures of anything, take pictures of this. Eat every 3 hours. Make sure you get something in every 3 hours. Every time you have a carbohydrate, have it with a protein or a healthy fat. Carbs are digested very quickly, 15-20 minutes. If you've ever had a Coke and a candy bar, you know it sounded like a good idea at the time, but you feel good and then you feel horrible very quickly. So add that protein or healthy fat to whatever meal you're having. It'll make a huge difference. Don't let your hunger get ahead of you. What happens when you let your hunger get ahead of you? Yeah, you eat too much and then you feel bad. So we've talked about this, making sure you don't let that hunger get ahead of you. When you do, you get too hungry and you overfill. And then focus on one meal at a time. It's very easy to get into this thought process of, I don't feel good when I eat, I don't know what to eat. When it's hard, just purpose that you're going to nourish your body and using some of the things that we've talked about. So one meal at a time, one day at a time. So I love this hunger scale. It's so depictive of what we're really trying to talk about. 1 on the scale is empty. You're like, got nothing, no energy, you're totally empty. 10 is like, I ate way too much. Think Thanksgiving full. You're just like, I don't feel good. Where you want to stay is between a 4 and a 6. So 4 is, I think I'm getting a little bit hungry. 6 is like, I think I'm satisfied. Not full, not stuffed, but I'm satisfied. If you'll stay between a 4 and a 6, it'll really help with any nausea, any kind of energy fluctuation. So remember the scale. My husband and I say all the time, I think I'm a 6, or I think I'm a 4. It's time to eat something. So, and by the way, that's my husband in the back. Very, very special to have him here. Portion control. Again, I just wanted you to see this picture of what a plate could look like. So half your plate, fruits and vegetables. Carbohydrates, 1/4 of your plate. Protein, 1/4 of your plate. So think about dividing your plate into quarters. 1/4 of it is carbs, 1/4 of it is protein, and half of it is fruits and vegetables. Many of the fruits and vegetables we've already talked about. So tips and tools for right sizing these portions. Eat on smaller plates. If you're going to eat 5 to 6 meals a day and you get a big plate out, what's going to happen?
You're going to fill it up.
You're going to fill it up. Yes. And if you're eating the right amount, it looks lost on that plate. You're like, wow, I'm not eating anything. So smaller plates are important. And then try fixing your plate at the stove, but eating at the table. Because with that, what can happen is you get one portion, right? I don't know about y'all, but I grew up in a really good Southern home where we put everything in serving bowls, sat at the table, passed it, and then you're like, can I have some more mashed potatoes? How about some more of this? If it's fixed at the stove, often people don't jump up and go get more. And then single serving snack foods. You've got a great example of that today, right? The little single serve of apples, the little peanut butters that are small and just the right size. So have those available. And then when dining out, share with a friend. Anybody share with a spouse or a friend when you go out? Good. Yeah, me too. Restaurants serve this much food, and so half of that is plenty. Ask the waiter to put half in a to-go box when you place your order, because what happens if it's just sitting on your plate?
You don't eat it.
Yes, you eat it, you're chatting, you're having a good time, and all of a sudden you're like, well, that's not even enough to take home. So if they'll wrap it up, before or when you place your order, you'll come much nearer not overeating. I have to tell you about a friend that I had, actually a client that I had in St. Louis. And he was this very large, robust man, and he invited me to come to St. Louis and help him know how to eat. He took clients out almost every night for dinner to a big steakhouse. And so we went, and he's so excited to show me this place. And he thinks he's doing really well. So he's like, they come by with a seafood cart. It's got crab and shrimp and everything on it. And I just fill up on that. So the guy comes by with the seafood cart. And I said, how many shrimp are in a shrimp cocktail? And he said 4. And I said, let's split that. So 2 shrimp for you, 2 shrimp for me. You can imagine what he's thinking about this. He's like, wow, that is not much food. And then I said, they'll bring bread to the table, and let's just avoid that for today. Now, I'm not telling you I always eat like this, but I was trying to help him understand. And then the meal, he said, well, I always order a caprese salad. I said, well, that's fine. We can share that. We can split that. By this time, he's like, I'm really not liking where this is going. So that we order our meal, and he said, I always get the 12-ounce prime rib. I said, well, why don't we share the 8-ounce filet? You can have 5 ounces. I'll have 3 ounces. We'll be good. So we did that, and he's like, okay, so what are we splitting for dessert? Let's just not have dessert tonight, but I have a surprise for you in my purse when we get outside. And he's like, if you could have seen him, he was like, just thinking I'd lost my ever-loving mind. So we get outside. Anybody care to guess what I had in my purse? Yes, sugar-free gum. And so I handed him this piece of gum, and he stormed off to his car. And when I saw him the next morning, he said, I fully intended to go home and have a big bowl of ice cream after this meal. But I ate that blankety blank piece of gum, and I didn't want it.
All right.
I know. You know what he said the next morning? He said, I was really mad at you last night, but I slept better than I've slept in years.
Wow.
It's pretty powerful. Controlling what you eat can make such a big difference. So what are you willing to do to fit in fitness? It never comes easy, right? It's never one of those things that, I'm going to get up and put my tennis shoes on and go for a walk. It makes it hard. But you want to be active. It does so many things for you. It increases your oxygen circulation. It releases endorphins, which make you feel so good. There's 8 reasons to be active. So I wanted you to see these. It builds lean muscle, which, again, digest calories more effectively. It helps manage your stress. And we're going to talk about stress in a minute, but exercise is a great way to manage that. It increases your metabolism so that the foods you eat are digested more quickly and more efficiently. It improves your stamina. So how many of you are tired by mid-afternoon or before? I mean, it's a thing that we do. So it improves your stamina. It acts as an antidepressant. So many of us can get lulled into the, I'm dealing with a lot. So it acts as an antidepressant. It increases your stability. So I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm not as able to stay stable if I trip or come off a curb wrong. So that's what exercise does for you. It strengthens those muscles and helps you stay more stable. Motion is the lotion for the joints. So often I've heard people say, I can't move, my knee hurts, or my arm hurts, or my back hurts, or my foot hurts, whatever. And it's true, it does. But any physician will tell you, if you can be more active, move those joints more frequently, it'll help. And then we talked about HDL and LDL. So exercise can improve your HDL. Usually the people I see with the highest HDLs are avid exercisers. It lowers your bad cholesterol, which is again another good thing that you want to happen, and it helps manage your blood glucose. So tons of reasons to be active, right? Managing stress. That's a hard one, I think. Unmanaged stress can undermine anything else you are doing to create health. It undermines your efforts. If you're totally stressed out and not doing anything to manage that, it will make a difference. So tools to manage your stress. Have a routine. Think about that. If you wake up in the morning and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing today, it can very easily make you feel like you've got no purpose, you've got nothing you need to accomplish. Building in that routine of knowing, okay, I get up at 8, I have breakfast at 9, I do my walk at 10, however you want to lay your day out, make sure you know what that is. And then simplify. Learn to say no. I've seen so many people just running like crazy, and I'm preaching to myself here too, but running around doing 1,000 things, and there's some things that are really important and you want to make sure you still make time for those, but there are also some things that you can let go. And I think that's really important to sit and analyze that. Declutter. That's kind of a funny one, but think about when your house is in disarray. And my husband just retired and moved his office to what I used to call my office. And so it looks like a bomb went off. You know, it looks horrible, and it makes us both, when we walk past it, go, oh. You know, because you just think you're never going to get it back to normal. Decluttering does that. Take care of a drawer. Take care of your shoes in your closet. Do something little to get started, and then all of a sudden you're going to go, oh, I like the way that looks. I like it when my shoes are in the shelf. I like it when my t-shirts are all hung together. I mean, you'll see little things that will encourage you, and it will encourage you to do more. So decluttering, very important. And then taking me time. That may be a morning quiet time for you. It may be going to get a manicure or a pedicure. It may be getting your hair cut. Take time. Go to Starbucks with a book. You know, find something that you can do for you. We spend a lot of times pouring ourselves out for other people, in our family mostly. Okay, so I have a teacher friend that taught me this, and I think it is such a cool thing. Has anybody seen this before? Yeah, it's just, to me it speaks volumes. So on the board, first day of class, she always writes the word attitude. And then she writes out what number the letter is in the alphabet. So like A is 1, T is 20, and so on. Writes all that out. It adds up to 100. Attitude is 100% of everything you will ever do. Powerful, right? You're brilliant. I love that. So when you're thinking about managing your stress, you want to do the important things first. Go from good to great, right? We think about that. All these things are good to do, but what would be great in your life to get done? Then we talked about starting your day with a quiet time, fitting in fitness, and truthfully, it doesn't have to be a walk. It can be sit and be fit. Anything that you're capable of or you'd like to aspire to, that's what exercise can be for you. And then energy, eating for energy. I told you were going to hear me say that 1,000 times. Practice positive self-talk. I mean, when you're going through cancer therapy, it's very easy to not feel so great about yourself. I mean, you have all kinds of those side effects that you're dealing with, and they just make you forget you're beautiful. You're beautiful just like you are. You're beautiful, and you know, if your hair's gone or you have some weight gain with your therapy, anything you're going through, just remind yourself on a daily basis, I'm beautiful, I'm worthy, I have purpose. Making sure that your body and mind hears that from you. Sleep, that's another really important thing. So getting a better night's sleep. Anybody have trouble sleeping? Yeah, me too. But these are some things that may help. So stop, like an hour before bedtime, stop whatever you're doing. Turn the TV off, get off from in front of your computer, just have a time to stop. Turn your brain, let your brain begin to turn off. And then reading. A lot of times we know that reading can kind of make your eyes tired, and so that helps you get ready for sleep. Journal. Many times when we lay awake, your brain kind of starts going different places, right? Oh, I have to remember to do this tomorrow, or why did this happen, or my kids are going crazy, whatever it is. Just make sure you jot that down, and then after you've jotted that down, you can let it go till morning. So it can really help. Have a routine. Pretend like it was back when you were a baby. Okay, what did you do as a baby or when you had a baby? You had this routine for bedtime. You fed them, you gave them a warm bath, you fed them a bottle, you read them a book, you put them down with their comfy blanket, and that was bedtime. Do the same thing. Have, get your warm shower, have a nice snack that's going to help you sustain through the night. Make sure that you have a great book to read. It can be 5-10 pages, but you have this routine that helps your body know when I do this, it's time to go to sleep. It really does help. And then, of course, cutting back on caffeine. We all know that. And you'll kind of know the time frame for yourself of, okay, I can't drink caffeine after noon or after 4. You'll begin to know what that is. So unleashing your passion. This one to me is a very important piece of getting better, because many times we think, I am so focused on me right now and feeling better, but your passion defines your purpose. What is your purpose? If you can figure out what that is, it allows you to take the focus off of you and put it on something or someone else. And that can make such a huge difference. I had a patient one time that was miserable. She was absolutely miserable. She was angry and tired and grumpy. And all of a sudden, she was in a retirement home, and she began to help other people. She led a Bible study. She got involved with what they needed. She came back one time and she was like so happy. I said, what in the world happened? I could say that to her. Something's different. And she said, I just began to take the focus off me, and it made a big difference. So, unleash your passion. Age gracefully. This is really not part of, cancer therapy or cancer survivorship, but it's important, right? Because you're not going to look like that anymore. As we age, you begin to look like that. And I don't know about you, but I walk past a mirror or something, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm beginning to look like my mom, right? You just think that. But studies have shown that we think of ourselves as about 20 years younger than we actually are. So that's why every time you look in the mirror and see that, you're like, oh, how do I fix that? And you can't. I love this cartoon. You probably can't see it from there, but it says, Judy, do you see that elderly couple down at the other end of the counter? Yeah, what about them? Well, I was just thinking, that's probably what you and I are going to look like in about 10 years. You do realize that's a mirror at the other end. So true.
Spot on.
Spot on, right? So the next thing is squaring off the curve. And this is a wonderful curve of decline that really depicts what we have been talking about. So on this curve, you can see that health starts out, you're born, you're cute and healthy and all these things. And then we begin to go down this curve. We begin to not take care of ourselves, not be active, drink too much, eat too much of the wrong things, all these things that begin to catch up with us. So somewhere around 50, you take this giant nosedive, huge curve of decline. But what happens if you don't? What happens if you take care of yourself, you eat right, you get exercise, you manage your stress, you sleep well, all those things? All of a sudden, you're living until it's, your time to go. But it's nice because you can live a nice, long, happy, healthy life. And that's what we're all striving for. I love Rascal Flatts has a song that says, I want to be running when the sand runs out. I want to be running when the sand runs out.
That's awesome.
That's me. And that's you. I can tell by the look in your face. Because you're here. It's you. Finish strong. So this is the last one we're going to talk about. But the difference between settling and conquering is how determined you are to finish strong. How determined are you to not settle for the cards you've been dealt, but to conquer them? And I'm going to share with you a story about my daughter. And then I'm actually going to show you a clip about it. But my daughter ran track for Texas Tech. And she did, yeah, me too. She did great. She was winning everything. She won lots of different races. She ran for World University Games and won a race in Spain. I mean, she just was really knocking the ball out of the park. So it was 1999 NCAA Championship Finals, and she was running the 10,000 meter distance race. And so we're all there because she's expected to win. She's doing really well. So we're all in Boise, Idaho, watching her attempt this race, expecting her to win. So she starts, there's a throng of girls at the start. The gun goes off and they run the first lap around. It's 25 laps around the track, so it's a long way. They run the first lap around and I can see Lee, my daughter, yelling at her coach from the sideline. And you know that's not a good sign, right? So I'm thinking, what is going on? She's still top 3, but she runs a second lap, again, more fervently, talking to him. Third lap around, he's telling her to stop and put her shoe back on because at the beginning of the race, someone had inadvertently stepped on the back of her shoe and pulled it off her heel. So she'd run those first 3 laps with her toes hanging onto the end of that shoe. Now, what the coach didn't know was that she had tied her shoe in knots to prevent it from coming untied during the race. So she had to kneel down, untie all the knots, put the shoe back on, retie it, and at this point, she's half a lap behind the slowest runners. So we're all thinking, oh, she's just gonna say, another race, another day, and walk off the track, but she didn't. So she ran, her coach gave her splits from the sidelines, and she's beginning to catch up to kind of the slowest runners. So that's great. You know, we're excited about that. A few more laps around, she's kind of running middle of the pack, which is amazing. A few more laps around, she's like 3rd or 4th in the group of top runners. Bell lap to go, she kicked it in and she won.
Wow.
The 10,000 race. It was absolutely amazing, and I brought a clip of it to show you. Oh, let's just hope and pray it actually. Yeah. I think you can hear that.
Lee Daniel from Texas Tech lost her shoe early. After stopping to put it back on, she inched her way back to finish first.
Wow.
Wow.
It was a pretty powerful moment. But at the end, one of the sportscasters came up to her and said, "How in the world did you do that? How did you manage to stay in the race?" And she said, "Well, I wasn't going to let a shoe stand in the way of my dream." And think about that. I mean, what are we letting stand in the way of all that we want to be, all that we've been called to be, all that makes a difference in our lives, who you are? She could have run off the track, but she didn't. She stayed in the race, and that's what y'all are doing. You're staying in the race. You're doing what it takes to get better.
Can you find that videos online?
You may be able to. It's a UT recording, so just Google Lee Daniel, and I think you'll find it. So we've talked about all these things today, and you may have questions afterwards. I'm happy to answer them. But eating for energy, committing to fitness, managing stress, unleashing your passion, aging gracefully, and finishing strong. So I'm up here, ask me questions. I want to show you this. I've got 3 books. I know you all have Eat Well to Be Well. This is a cookbook with recipes that I raised my 4 kids on. This is a book about my story, getting your second wind, because I came through some hard times and it made a difference in my life. you.